The film opens with Jeff being called into another session of an ongoing experiment. Steve, who runs the program, and his assistant Mark, asks Jeff to authorize giving Heather a drug called Darkenfloxx, which causes extreme fear and psychological distress. According to Steve, the committee overseeing the project still isn't convinced by the results of the last trial, so they want this additional test. Jeff hesitates, not wanting Heather to suffer, and asks Steve to speak with his superiors. Steve steps out, briefly talks with another participant named Lizzy, then returns pretending he has spoken to the committee. He tells Jeff they refuse the request and are threatening to remove Jeff from the program unless he cooperates. Feeling pressured and with no other choice, Jeff eventually agrees and acknowledges the command. Heather is given the dose, and Jeff is administered with Verbaluse, a drug that forces him to speak his thoughts openly. As he watches Heather struggle, he's pushed to admit out loud that he doesn't love her. Overwhelmed by the effects of the drug and the situation, Heather becomes overwhelmed and, after damaging the device that delivers her medication, ends her own life. The incident leaves Steve and Mark shaken, and Jeff weighed down with guilt for agreeing to the test. Welcome back to Sandy's Timeline. Today, we're diving into the psychological thriller film Spiderhead. As always, don't forget to subscribe for more movie recaps. So, what exactly is this place, and what kinds of experiments are happening here? Let's rewind and find out. The program takes place on a remote research island known as the Spiderhead Penitentiary Research Center, a high-tech facility dedicated to studying the effects of experimental chemicals. The test subjects, who are technically state prisoners, volunteer for the program in hopes of reducing their sentences. The operation is run by the seemingly friendly and welcoming Steve Abnesti, along with his assistant, Mark. Life inside Spiderhead looks surprisingly relaxed. Each participant has their own room, they handle daily chores, and they can move around freely without guards. But every day, the participants are brought in for trials involving different drugs that are delivered through a MobiPack device attached to their lower backs, each one designed to shift their emotions or change how they experience the world around them. We're introduced to Jeff, an inmate serving time for 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter after a drunk driving incident that resulted in the deaths of his girlfriend and his best friend. It's clear he's still struggling with the guilt of what happened, though he does have a supportive relationship with Steve, who even allows him occasional phone privileges. Jeff also forms a sincere connection with another participant, Lizzy, who quickly becomes someone that helps him feel a bit more grounded in his situation. As usual, the testing continues, and Jeff is introduced to Heather, someone he hasn't interacted with before. For this session, they're given N40, a so-called love drug that heightens emotional attachment and distorts their perceptions. Under its influence, Jeff and Heather develop an intense, intimate temporary bond. When the dosage wears off, they return to their normal selves, looking dazed and unsure of what just happened. Steve then instructs Mark to observe how they behave afterward to determine whether the lingering effects of the drug create any real emotional connection, which would count the trial as a success. The experiment is repeated with another participant Jeff feels no natural attraction toward, yet the outcome is the same, showing the drug's ability to override genuine feelings. After a few days, Steve calls Jeff in and asks him to choose which participant should be given Darkenfloxx, a drug known to induce extreme fear and distress. Knowing how painful the experience is, Jeff refuses to decide, claiming he no longer feels anything for either participant once the effects of the love drug have worn off. The next day, Jeff is taken to the other side of the observation glass with Rogan and learns that the program was also testing the love drug on other individuals. He discovers that Heather was also given the choice to administer Darkenfloxx to either him or Rogan. Furious at Jeff's intrusion, Steve manipulates him, using guilt to pressure him into complying. The next day, Steve brings Jeff into the observation room again and tells him that the higher-ups have decided Heather, the younger of the 2 women, must receive a brief dose of Darkenfloxx, lasting only 5 minutes, bringing us back to the opening scene. Reluctantly, Jeff agrees, and to his shock, Heather tragically harms herself while under the influence of the drug. As Steve rushes out of the projection room, he dropped his keys. Jeff uses them to open Steve's desk compartment and discovers the truth. There are no higher-ups. The entire program is run by Abnesti Pharmaceuticals, Steve's company, and the drugs were arbitrarily named from a bingo card. This revelation shakes Jeff and makes him question the ethics and purpose of the experiments at the facility. To lighten the mood, Steve and Jeff take a laughing drug together, as Steve also has a MobiPack installed. During the session, Steve opens up about his difficult past, including being abandoned by his father, and notices Jeff's growing feelings for Lizzy. Meanwhile, Mark starts to doubt Steve's motives and breaks down when confronted by Jeff, leading the two of them to come up with a plan. Later, when Steve asks Jeff to administer Darkenfloxx to Lizzy, Jeff takes control of Steve's MobiPack and discovers that Mark had secretly spiked it with Darkenfloxx. Jeff forces Steve to reveal the true purpose of the program, testing a compliance drug called B6. The other drugs were secondary, designed to see if the obedience drug could override natural human emotions, specifically whether participants would harm someone they loved when instructed. Throughout the experiments, the inmates had believed they were volunteering, but they had actually been under the influence of the obedience drug. Jeff also learns that he had finished his sentence 7 months earlier, and Lizzy's appeal for release had been approved the previous week. Taking action, Jeff forces Steve to open the main entrance so he can free Lizzy. When he tries to make Steve hand over a pocket knife, Steve resists, refusing to comply because the project was the only thing he had ever loved. In retaliation, Steve activates all 4 vials of Darkenfloxx in Lizzy's MobiPack, causing her to panic. The two struggle for control, and Jeff manages to disarm Steve, damaging his MobiPack in the process. He rushes to save Lizzy, removes the vials, and tells her he loves her. Steve, however, recovers and orders the other inmates to capture Jeff and Lizzy. The pair manage to overpower the inmates and escape, locking the main door behind them. Meanwhile, Mark and the police are approaching the island, and Steve escapes on his float plane but crashes into a mountain while under the effects of his damaged MobiPack. Jeff and Lizzy take the remaining motorboat and successfully get away. In a voiceover, Jeff reflects that no drug can give someone self-forgiveness. It's something that must be earned and consciously chosen. And that's a wrap on Spiderhead. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown of your favorite films. Thanks for watching Sandy's Timeline, and I'll see you in the next one.